Okay. We are going to enter the last page of notes here for the chain rule. It says more derivatives using tables. It says let f of x be a continuous and a differentiable function on the interval from 0 to 1. And let g of x equal 4, or g of x is f of 4x. The table below gives values of f prime of x, the derivative of f of x. Find the value of g prime of 0.2. Well, if we want to know g prime, and g of x is f of 4x, that means g prime of x is the derivative. This is a composite here. So if I take the derivative of the outside, that's f prime. The inside stays the same, and then we multiply by the derivative of the inside. The derivative of the inside, which is 4x, the derivative of that is 4. So g prime of x is f prime of 4x times 4. And if we want to know g prime of 0.2, that's f prime of 4 times 0.2 times 4, or f prime of 0.8 times 4. So the derivative f prime evaluated at 0.8 is going to be 1.125. So I actually end up with 1.125 times 4. Right? 1.125 is 1 1/8. So 1 1/8 is the same as 9/8. So 9/8 times 4 would be 36/8 if we wrote it as an improper fraction. Now, obviously, 36/8 is reducible. They're both divisible by 4. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. 8 divided by 4 is 2. We actually end up with 9/2 as our final answer. So 4 1/2. In example 5, it says use the table below to complete the following. Okay, here's our table of values. And in letter A, it says find the equation of the tangent line to x equals -1 if our function capital H of x is the composite of 3 times f of g. Right? F of g of x is a composition or a composite function, and 3 is our coefficient. So when I differentiate h prime of x, I get 3 times the derivative of the outside. The inside function g of x stays the same. And then I multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is the derivative of g, which is g prime of x. So if I want to know what the equation of the tangent line is, I need to know what the slope of the tangent line is. M tangent is actually equal to the derivative evaluated at 1. So M tangent is actually h prime of -1. So we will find h prime of -1. That's really 3 times f prime of g of -1 times g prime of -1. So if I evaluate that, I get 3 times f prime of g of -1. G of -1 is -1. When x is -1, g of -1 is -1. So I'm going to get f prime of -1 times g prime of -1 is 2. F prime evaluated at -1 is 4. So it actually ends up being 3 times 4 times 2, which is going to be 24. The slope of the tangent line is 24. If we're going to write our equation for the tangent line, I need to know what the other part of the ordered pair is. So I need to know what h of -1 is, which is 3 times f of g of -1. That's 3 times f. G of -1 is -1. F of -1 is -2. So we get 3 times -2, which is -6. So our point of tangency, our slope of our tangent line is 24. Our point of tangency is -1, -6. Right? We got this right here. X is -1, y is -6. So our equation then is y equals 24 times x plus 1 minus 6. Or if you like the 6 on the other side, you could say y plus 6 equals 24 times x plus 1. You may also write this in slope-intercept form. If I distributed here, 24x plus 24 minus 6 would give me 24x plus 18. That slope-intercept form of the tangent line. All right, last example here is if j of x is the composite of f and g, that's part of it, times cosine of x. So we have a product and a composite. What is the value of j prime of 0? So when I differentiate j prime, or when I differentiate j, when I find j prime, I'm doing the product and a composition. So I apply the product rule. That's f of g of x, that's function 1, times the derivative of the second function, which is negative sine x, plus the second function times the derivative of the first. So that's a composition. So it's f prime, inside stays the same, times the derivative of the inside, which is g prime of x. So here's 1 d2 plus 2, and all of this is d1, the derivative of that composition. So if I find j prime of 0, it's f of g of 0 times negative sine of 0 plus cosine of 0 times f prime of g of 0 times g prime of 0. I'm plugging in 0 for x. So if I go back to that table, g of 0 is 2. At x equals 0, g is 2. So I get f of 2 times negative sine of 0. Negative 1 times sine of 0. Sine of 0 is 0. So that actually ends up getting multiplied by 0. Plus cosine of 0 is 1 times f prime g of 0 we said was 2. And then we need to know what g prime of 0. G prime of 0 is negative 3. So f of 2 times 0 is just 0. I get 0 plus 1 times f prime of 2. F prime of 2 is negative 2. And we multiply that by negative 3. We get 0 plus 1 times negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. So we end up with 6 as our final answer. J prime of 0 is equal to 6. That's the slope of the tangent line at x equals 0. That's it for the chain rule notes. So you can go ahead and start working on your homework. And I hope everyone has a fantastic break.